Question number 651. Section 91 and 92 of the Evidence Act should be read together. These two sections supplement each other. Here correct answer is option A, that is both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Question number 652. A agrees in writing to sell a horse to B for rupees 1000 or rupees 1500. Here option B is the correct answer. Evidence cannot be given to show which price was to be given. Question number 653. A and B make a contract in writing that B shall sell a house to be paid for delivery. At the same time, they make an oral agreement that 3 months credit shall be given to A. Can evidence of this oral agreement be given in court? Option A, yes by A against the third party, yes by A against B or vice versa, yes by a third party against A or B, yes by a third party only if he is affected against A or B. Here correct answer is option D, that is yes by third party only if he is affected against A or B. Question number 654. A sells a horse and verbally warrants him sound. A gives B a paper in these words, bought of A horse rupees 500. Whether B can prove the verbal warranty? Option A, yes. Option B, barred under section 92 of the Evidence Act. C, no. D, under section 91 of the Evidence Act, only written documents can be proved. Here correct answer is option A, that is yes. Question number 655. Which of the following facts can be proved under section 92 of the Evidence Act? Correct answer is option A, that is A enters into a written statement. A enters into a written contract with B to work certain mines, the property of B, on certain terms. A says that he was induced to do so by a misrepresentation of B as to their value. Question number 656. An estate called the Rampur Tea Estate is sold by a deed which contains a map of the property sold. The fact that land not included in the map had always been regarded as a part of the estate and was meant to pass the deed. This fact can be proved, cannot be proved, proved by the court's permission, proved by secondary evidence. Correct answer here is option B, that is cannot be proved. Question number 657. Mistake referred to in proviso 1 to section 92 of the Indian Evidence Act refers to unilateral mistake only, mutual mistake only, unilateral and mutual mistake, none of the above. Correct answer here is option C, that is unilateral and mutual mistake. Question number 658. A policy of insurance affected on goods in ships from Calcutta to London. The goods are shipped in a particular ship which has been lost. The fact that particular ships was already accepted from the policy can be proved, cannot be proved, can be partly proved, none of these. Here correct answer is option B, that is cannot be proved. Question number 659. Oral evidence is not admissible to clarify the language used in a document when the language is ambiguous or defective on its face. Here option A is the correct answer. Question number 660. When the language used in a document is on its face ambiguous or defective dash of facts which would show its meaning or supply its defects. Correct answer is option D, that evidence may not be given. Question number 661. A agrees to sell to B his white horse in writing. A has 2 white horses and it becomes uncertain as to which horse was sold. Here in the document therein, option A, patent ambiguity, latent ambiguity, no ambiguity, none of the above. Here correct answer is option B, that is latent ambiguity. Question number 661. A agrees to sell B his white horse in writing. A has 2 white horses and it becomes uncertain as to which horse was sold. Here the document there is latent ambiguity. Question number 662. A as a sculptor agrees to sell B all my mods. A has both models and tools. Whether evidence can be adduced to show his intention? Here correct answer is option A, that is yes. Question number 663. Latent ambiguity is a document means ambiguity of hidden character and for clarification of which oral evidence may be given. Question number 664. In which chapter of the Indian Evidence Act provisions regarding burden of proof are codified? Correct answer here is option D, that is chapter 7 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 665. The provisions relating to burden of proof has been provided under. Correct answer is option C, that is section 101 to 114A of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 666. Section 100 to 111 of the Evidence Act lays down provisions regarding those who is to lead evidence and prove the case. These rules are called rules relating to burden of proof. Option A is right answer. Question number 667. The burden of proof means the obligation to prove a fact. This is defined under section 101 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 668. Which one of the following is correctly matched under the Indian Evidence Act? Burden of proof, section 101. Here option A is the correct answer. Question number 669. Which section of the Evidence Act is not on shifting of burden of proof? Correct answer is option A, that is section 101. Question number 670. In every criminal trial, option A, the accused must prove his innocence, the accused must cross-examine defense witness, the prosecution alone has to prove the charge against the accused, the prosecution can rely on the lapses of the defense case alone to prove the charges. Here correct answer is option C. In every criminal trial, the prosecution alone has to prove the charge against the accused. Question number 671. The burden of proof under section 102 of the Indian Evidence Act always shifts. A is the right answer. Question number 672. The burden of proof in a suit for proceeding lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on other side. This provision is contained in which section of the Indian Evidence Act? Correct answer is option B, that is section 102 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 673. In criminal proceedings, the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused, on the accused to prove his innocence. On both the parties, court decides on whom the burden of proof lies. Correct answer here is option A. In criminal proceedings, the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused. Question number 674. Burden of proof under section 101 of the Indian Evidence Act never shifts. Question number 675. Consider the following statements. In criminal proceedings, the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused person, on the accused to prove his innocence. Here correct answer is option 1 only, that is on the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused person. Question number 676. A desires a court to give judgment that he is entitled to certain land in the possession of B or on the basis of certain facts. B denies them to be true under section 101 of the Evidence Act. Correct answer here is option C. A must prove the existence of those facts. Question number 677. A sues B for which B is in possession and which A, as A asserts, was left to A by the will of C, B's father, to whom the burden of proof lie. Correct answer is option B, that is A. Question number 678. A desire of court to give judgment that B shall be punished for a crime which A says B has committed. According to the Indian Evidence Act 1872, the burden of proof is on A under section 101 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 679. In election petition, the burden of proof lies on option B is the right answer, the person who challenged election. Question number 680. A is tried for the murder of B. He takes the plea of self-defense, but the evidence adduced by him is not sufficient to put his case under the exception, although it is enough to create doubt whether the charge against him has been positively proved. In this case, option A is guilty of murder because he has not discharged his burden of proof. A is guilty of culpable homicide not amounting to murder because his case falls under the exceptions of section 300. Option C, A has committed no offence because self-defense is a recognized ground on exemption from the criminal liability. And option D, A is entitled to acquittal as the prosecution has failed to prove his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. In question number 680, correct answer is option D, that is A is entitled to acquittal as the accused has failed to prove his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Question number 681. The principle of proving beyond reasonable doubt applies to criminal proceedings only, civil proceedings only, evidence law, all the civil and criminal proceedings. Correct answer is option A, that is criminal proceedings only. Question number 682. The burden of proof in a suit proceeding lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on either side. This provision is contained in which section of the Indian Evidence Act? Correct answer is option C, that is section 102 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 683. A sues B for land of which B is in possession and which, as A asserts, was left to A by the will of C, B's father. If no evidence were given on either side, B would be entitled to retain his possession applying section 102 of the Evidence Act. Option A, the burden of proof is on A. Question number 684. X sues Y for money due on a bond. The execution of the bond is admitted, but Y says that it was obtained by fraud, which X denies. The burden of proof is on. Correct answer is option A, that is Y. Burden of proof is on Y. Question number 685. A prosecuted B for theft and wishes the court to believe that B admitted the theft to C. Who shall have to prove the admission? Correct answer is option C, that is A. Question number 686. Plea of alibi can be established under dash of the Evidence Act. Correct answer is option C, that is section 103 of the Evidence Act. Question number 687. A wishes to prove dying declaration by B A must prove B's death. Which section of the Indian Evidence Act provides so? Correct answer is option C, that is section 104 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 688. A wishes to prove a dying declaration by B. The burden of proof that B is dead is on by A. Question number 689. Burden of proving the existence of exceptions is put on the accused by the Indian Evidence Act 1872 under section 102, 103, 105, 106. Correct answer is option C, that is section 105 of the Indian Evidence Act. Question number 690. Section 105 of the Evidence Act is intended to apply to which of the following? Criminal trials, civil suit, both A and B, neither A nor B. Correct answer is option A, that is criminal trials. Question number 691. In criminal trial, the onus is on the accused to prove that his case falls in any of the general exception, any of the special exceptions, any of the proviso to any provision, all of the above. Here correct answer is option D. Question number 692. To prove the case of alibi, the burden lies on the prosecution, complainant, witness, accused. Correct answer here is option D, that is accused. Question number 693. A. Accused of murder alleges that by grave and sudden provocation he was deprived of the power of self-control. B denies this fact. Here the burden of proof is on A. Question number 694. The burden of proving that the case of the accused comes within any of the general exception is in IPC is upon the accused. Question number 695. Section 105 of the Evidence Act requires that the court presume the absence of such circumstances which brings a case within the purview of the general exceptions of the IPC. Must, shall, may, ought to. Correct answer here is option B, that is shall. Section 105 of Evidence Act requires that the court shall presume the absence of such circumstances which brings a case within the purview of the general exceptions in the IPC. Question number 696. Under Indian Evidence Act, in a trial, the burden of proving the plea of insanity of the accused lies is on. Correct answer is option B, that is accused. Question number 697. Which section of the Indian Evidence Act is related to the doctrine of res ispa liquator? Correct answer here is option C, that is section 106. Question number 698. Any person in section 106 of the Indian Evidence Act refers to a party to the suit, a stranger to the suit, a witness, none of the above. Correct answer is option A, that is a party to the suit. Question number 699. A is charged with traveling on a railway without a ticket. The burden of proving that he had a ticket is on accused. Question number 700. A. Traveler while traveling has been asked for the ticket by the ticket checker. The traveler replies he has purchased the ticket. Ticket checker prosecutes the traveler for traveling without ticket. In this case, under which section on whom the burden of proof lies will be determined? Correct answer is option A, that is section 106.